What is up, my friends? Welcome back to another video, and today we are taking a look at another sample library called GROTH by Wavelet Audio. So big thanks to Evgeny from Wavelet for sending me a copy. He actually reached out to me a couple days ago, and he was asking me whether I wanted to check it out. He was a follower of my YouTube channel, and I actually had never heard of this library before, because if you know my style of writing, I don't really do, the dark sort of thing, but upon checking out the library and some of the walkthroughs, the demos, I was instantly impressed. And funny enough, I'm actually working on an orchestration for a specific podcast, which kind of has a darker sound to it. And I was thinking like that would actually benefit from using a library like this. It would make the arrangement so much easier. And so I was definitely interested in checking it out. So again, big thanks to Evgeny, and yeah, I'm excited to kind of go through some of the patches today, show you what it's kind of about, and then maybe at the very end you can let me know if this is something that you feel can enhance your existing arsenal. I'd love to know. Before we really do that though, I want to give you my sample library buyer's guide in case you don't have it yet. It's essentially a categorization of all of my preferred sample libraries by like orchestral sections like strings, winds, brass, and percussion. There's also some piano libraries and some jazz libraries in there. All the stuff that I would personally recommend if someone came up to me and asked like, Chris, what libraries do you use? This is exactly what I would tell you. So it's categorized by like the sections, but there's also the prices listed so you know exactly how much you're investing in each one. It's super digestible, super easy to read, so I want you to have that absolutely free. Just click the link below in the description box. It'll take you straight there, and it's my gift to you for checking out this video today. So without further ado, let's kind of talk about GROTH. They kind of call it the modern cinematic instruments inspired by the Dark Ages and mythology. And I love this kind of visual graphic here. Really, really cool. Regular price is $259. And essentially, it's like a collection of classical instruments, but recorded in a way that is suitable for both, folk, cinematic, epic kind of purposes, and has a lot of really unique sounds in there. So let's just take a look at the features really quickly. 61 detailed programmed instruments, true legato, multiple round robins, made for the free Contact player, so you don't need the full version of Contact. And it's only 10.6 gigabytes large, so it's not even that big. And you require 15.6 gigabytes, 10.6 gigabytes, right, of hard drive space, but there's 15 gigabytes of sample material. So without further ado, let's kind of go through. Again, I've picked up some of my favorite patches here, and you can see it's kind of categorized in 7 different folders. We have playable instruments, which contains all of these guys, orchestral instruments plus some unique ones. Then we have the percussion, which is ensembles, single percussion, sweetener percussion, and wood. You have sounds and effects, which is mainly for like trailer stuff, and there's loops and pulses, which can also be used for like trailer and cinematic purposes. The voices, which are definitely beautiful. I love checking those out. And then the organic synths, they have all these different sounds, and then the drones as well, 2 patches there. So without further ado, let's kind of dive into the first patch, which is the Tagal Harpa. I know I'm mispronouncing that, but let me just stop talking. I'll start playing and give you a sense of what this sounds like. Here we go. This patch here is really cool, the Dombra, because it's velocity sensitive. So the lighter you play, it's a sampled phrase, right? But the lighter you play, you get a very simple rhythm. A little harder, you get this 8th note sound, and then harder, you get the 16th note pattern. So you can technically mix and match these rhythms together. So let's play really lightly. You get this quarter note, a little harder with the 8th note, and then 16th. So that's just really, really cool. By the way, all these string patches here were just lovely. My favorite probably still is the solo cello spiccato. Such a beautiful, crisp sound you hear from that from the string there. And the violins, the harmonics tremolo is such a beauty as well. But anyway, let's continue on. Now we have the percussion ensembles. Then we'll move on to some other sweeteners. Let's go. Here we go. All right, so before we go on to the vocals, these are just some really interesting patches here. So the didgeridoo, right? You can alter the speed. You can go half speed, regular speed, double speed. That's also really always really nice. Of course, you can change the tuning of it. By default, it's mapped to E, but then you can also tune it up or down. Risers, this kind of reminds me of the rise and hit library from Native Instruments. So you can change the starting position of the riser there. And these clocking loops are something special. So, I mean, you can, of course, layer them on top of each other. So if you click one, that's totally fine. Then click another one on top, and then it layers on top. And you just get this like super cool patch. All right, the vocal is one of the standouts for me of this library. So she has two types of legato, the Melosmatic and then the standard. Let's start with the Melosmatic because that's what it kind of loads with. So let's try this. So a couple things to note here for the vocal. First of all, the sustains are looped, so you can hold it forever. And if I think that the vocalist will continue to sing forever because the voice is looped over and over. Another thing is that you hear that the standard legato is a little slower, and so is the Melosmatic, right? Because it's quite emphasizing those transitions. But for the standard legato, it is quite slow for each of the transitions, so it's not going to suit fast playing very well. Like, it's going to kind of smear together. You want to use this vocal specifically for slower lines, in my opinion. So that's really important. And then another really cool feature of this library is the sequencer. So you see here this little red key switch here at the very bottom. This is what activates the sequencer. And here you can kind of set up the syllables that you want to be pronounced. I believe in the walkthrough, he said there was 1 male and 2 females. And so let me just play this and you can see what this sounds like. And of course, you can change these syllables to whatever you want. So if I want to go to fool, then it goes. And you can also change the actual pattern that you want to happen here. So let's say we go to straight preset 10. Let's see what this sounds like. Let's try another one. Maybe pulsing preset. Let's try that. So that was definitely a little bit slower. But the cool thing is, yeah, each of these 4 different columns, you can choose your own presets here to load whatever syllables you want. And then you can also turn off the male if you want to, or turn off the female if you want, just the solo male. You can absolutely do that. Let's see what that would sound like. Okay, and then of course the tempo and the speed of this is mapped to your DAW tempo. So if you're going, 120, it's going to map to that. In this case, I'm going 140, so that's the speed there. But yeah, really, really cool functionality, super unique. All right, let's finish off here with the playable synth and the drones. So here's the synth. All right, so you have a certain number of drones here, but it's always nice when you can change the tuning of the drones on the fly. Very, very useful, so you don't have to literally bounce the sample and then change the tuning post recording. You can always do it on the fly as you're playing in the patch. So for me, one of the most important things, of course, when it comes to any sample library is asking yourself, is it practical for my own use? And while I don't write in this style primarily, I can definitely see myself using bits and pieces from this library to help my productions. You know, whether if you know, a darker podcasting, or if it's like a score that needs some darker elements, maybe some gothic elements, some cinematic stuff. This library has a lot of cool instruments that I don't have anywhere else. So for example, the Tagal Harpa is the only one that I have here. Very interesting. And I just love how playable this thing is. The entire library is very responsive. And the legato is fantastic as well with the vocal, right? Especially you hear how smooth that was. I love the GUI as well. It really puts you in that mood of, you know, some of these darker sounds. I love that. And yeah, the overall fidelity of the samples, everything just sounds really, really nice, super high quality, and they've been processed really well. And also the sound design elements, I really appreciate how it's not overwhelmingly confusing. Like they do give you options to tweak the sound to your own liking, but it's not so much that you'd be like, what is this interface? Like, how do I, you know, how can I affect this sound? It's not like that. So a good solid library for this type of purpose, in my opinion. Is it good for every purpose out there? Absolutely not, right? Because it doesn't have woodwinds. Well, I mean, it has a couple of woodwinds, but not like a common orchestral woodwinds, right? Like common orchestral brass. This is not a typical orchestral library, but it takes some unique instruments and puts them all in a collection specifically suited for these darker medieval styles of playing. And I think that's really, really cool. That being said, right, if you have other libraries like Dark Era, you know, other libraries that kind of do similar sorts of thing, you might not even need this one. But because this is my only library of this style, I will definitely hold on to this one very tightly. And I'm looking forward to seeing what Wavelet Audio does next, whether it's something in the similar vein or if they venture off into another kind of character library. I'm definitely interested to see that. But yeah, I would love to know, you know, if you made it this far. I'm curious to know if this is something that you might be interested in. Is this sort of thing missing from your catalog? And if so, is this one that you would kind of consider adding to your arsenal? I'm definitely curious to know. And maybe which one of these patches is your favorite so far that you've heard in this video. If you're curious to know more about the library, though, definitely check out the official developer walkthrough on their channel from Wavelet Audio. And yeah, you can definitely watch all the patches there. He kind of goes through every single one in detail there. These are just some of my favorites, and I just want to share them with you here today. Thank you so much for watching. Again, if you don't have my sample library buyer's guide, I do want to give that to you. It's absolutely free, and it does contain all the orchestral sections, the standard instruments that you would have in a symphony orchestra, all categorized by prices and different sections. So it's all very readable, digestible, and you can read it like within an afternoon, and hopefully it will help you on your next purchasing item. So yeah, I want to give that to you. Just check the link below. It'll take you straight there. And it's my thank you gift to you again for checking out this video today. So without further ado, I'll see you in the next one, and have a wonderful rest of your day. I'll see you then. Bye-bye.